from the mud-churning T-34 to the sky-shattering MiG-15 jet. This is the complete catalog of the communist war machine in Korea. Let's start with the medium tanks. The spearhead of the invasion T-3485. The legend. The absolute symbol of North Korean power supplied by the Soviet Union. These medium tanks outclassed everything on the peninsula in 1950 with its 85mm gun and sloped armor. It was immune to American light tanks and bazookas early in the war. It was the King of Korea T-34 recovery vehicle. The Fixer, a T-34 hull with the turret removed, often fitted with cranes or winches. These rare vehicles were essential for dragging damaged tanks out of the mud and back to repair depot, keeping the armored spearhead moving. Captured M4A3E8 Sherman, the turncoat. During the chaos of the retreat, US forces abandoned dozens of tanks. The North Koreans captured, repainted, and used these EZ-8 South against their former owners, confusing American gunners on the battlefield. Next is the heavy armor, the giants that arrived with the Chinese volunteers. IS-2 model 1944, the Stalin tank, a massive heavy tank armed with a devastating 122mm gun. Its thick armor could withstand hits from almost any UN tank. While slow and heavy, it was used as a breakthrough vehicle to smash through fortified defensive lines. Next is the self-propelled guns, the mobile artillery Su-76M, the infantry's friend, built on a light tank chassis. This open-topped vehicle carried a 76mm field gun. While its armor was thin and the crew was exposed to the elements, it provided direct fire support, blasting bunkers and machine gun nests. Su-00, the sniper, a dedicated tank destroyer with a fixed Super RUC turret. It carried a powerful 100mm naval gun capable of knocking out the heaviest American tanks from long range, though it appeared in smaller numbers later in the war. Su-122, the beast killer. Built on the heavy IS tank chassis, this casemate destroyer carried a massive long-range gun that was designed to hunt enemy tanks and destroy concrete bunkers from long distances, acting as a mobile sledgehammer. Next is the rocket artillery, the psychological weapon BM-13 Katusha Stalin's organ, a truck-mounted multiple rocket launcher. It screamed as it fired a barrage of 132mm rockets, saturating entire grid squares with high explosives. It was inaccurate but terrifying to troops on the receiving end. Next is the armored cars, the eyes of the armed YBA-64, the Scout, a light 4W wheeled armored car built on a Jeep chassis. It looked like a small angular box armed only with a light machine gun. Its job was to race ahead of the main column and find gaps in the enemy lines. Captured M8 Greyhound, the trophy, originally a US armored car supplied to South Korea. KPA captured dozens of these in the opening weeks of the war and immediately pressed them into service against their former owners. Next is the light transports, the officers' rides Gaz-67, the Soviet Jeep, rugged, simple, and capable of handling the rough Korean terrain. It was used by KPA officers to coordinate attacks and by reconnaissance units to patrol the flanks. M72 motorcycle, the Messenger, a Soviet copy of a German BMW design, often equipped with a sidecar mounting a machine gun. These were used for dispatch riding and rapid hit and run attacks during the chaotic opening weeks. Next is the logistics trucks, the lifelines of the offensive. Gas-51, the workhorse, the standard 2.5-ton truck of the communist forces. Thousands of these moved ammunition, fuel, and rations from the Yalu River down to the Busan perimeter. Zs-5, the Veteran, an older boxy truck from World War II. It was primitive and made of wood and steel, but it was incredibly easy to repair. It hauled supplies through the worst Korean winters. Zs-1, the heavy hauler, a larger, more modern Soviet truck modeled after American designs. These carried the heavy artillery shells and towed the field guns necessary to break fortified positions. Studebaker R6, the Irony. These famous American trucks were given to Russia during World War II as lend aid. The Soviets then gave them to North Korea, meaning American soldiers were often fired upon by supplies carried on American-made trucks. ZISS-42, the half-track, a unique truck with skis on the front wheels and tracks on the rear. It was specifically designed to navigate deep snow and mud, ensuring supplies reached the front lines even during the brutal Korean winter. Gazar, the little truck, a license-built version of the Ford Model A that was old and underpowered by 1950 standards, but widely used for light transport and ambulance duties behind the lines. Next is the heavy tractors and special units. The support machines. Stalinets S-65, the Crawler, a massive, slow-moving tractor originally designed for farming in the war. It was used to tow the heaviest howitzers through deep snow and mud where wheel trucks would get stuck. Z-154, searchlight truck, the Night Watcher, a ZIS-5 truck mounted with a massive anti-aircraft searchlight. These were crucial for spotting American B-29 bombers during night raids, guiding anti-aircraft guns to their targets in the dark. Next is the naval forces, The Mosquito Fleet G5 class torpedo boat, the Sprinter, a small fast attack craft made of aluminum. It carried 2 torpedoes that were launched from the rear. These boats famously ambushed UN cruisers early in the war, using their speed to hit an RUNP-4 class torpedo boat. The upgrade, slightly larger and more secure than the G5. It also relied on aluminum construction and high speed to close the distance with enemy ships before launching. Torpedoes. Mo for class patrol boat, the Little Hunter, a wooden hull submarine chaser. While slow, it was heavily armed with depth charges and cannons, serving as the workhorse for coastal defense and mining operations. Finally, the air power, the machines that challenged the M supremacy. Me G-15. The Shock. When this swept-wing jet appeared over the Yalu River, it changed air warfare forever. Faster and more heavily armed than early American jets, it created MiG Alley and forced the US to rush the F-86 Sabre to the front. It remains the most iconic symbol of the communist air war. Yak-9, the fighter. Before the jets arrived, this piston-engine fighter was the main aircraft of the North Korean Air Force that harassed UN ground troops in the early days, but was quickly outmatched when American P-51 Mustangs entered the fight. Lavokin La-11, the Escort, one of the last piston-engine fighters ever built that had a long range and was used by Chinese pilots to escort bombers and hunt American twin-engine aircraft. Il-10, the Tank Buster, a heavily armored ground attack aircraft. It was designed to destroy enemy vehicles and strafe infantry columns, flying low and slow over the battlefield. Tupolev-22, the Bomber, a fast and durable twin-engine bomber used by the Chinese Air Force. It conducted raids on UN-held islands and provided tactical bombing support during major offensives. Polikarpov Tibet Charlie, an ancient biplane made of wood and fabric. It flew too slow for American jets to shoot down and was invisible to radar. It attacked at night, dropping small bombs to keep UN troops awake and exhausted. From the T-34s on the ground to the MiGs in the sky, this mechanized arsenal defined the communist war effort. Which of these machines was the most feared on the battlefield? Let me know in the comments.